in the city. And the Cham Sofer says the city and the countryside have their distinct values. The small town residents, their manners, their midas, living in a more secluded area, are more perfected. The Beinon Lachaber is more perfected and more refined. On the other hand, the city dwellers have the advantage of the intense Torah centers. Thus, they are always more steeped in Torah. So the bottom malkah is more perfected. In 1973, when I arrived as the right Rav in White Lake, there was a very prestigious inaugural ceremony. There were present the Supreme Court Justice Lawrence Cook, the Honorable Sutherland County Sheriff Judge Joseph Wasser, and when I addressed the audience, I mentioned that although we are honored to have so prestigious an array of dignitaries, the order of the speakers themselves could be proved to be disastrous. I said, because if I had been the first speaker, followed by His Honor the Judge, and then the sheriff, so then I would have come before the judge, and the sheriff would have been after me. But this way it worked out fine, because first the sheriff spoke, and then His Honor the Judge, and then I spoke. So the sheriff came before me, the judge came before me, and both of us were after the sheriff. We are honoring tonight.
What did you say? Someone's speaking.
Special gift.
You can't hear? Who's talking?
It's not clear.
It's not clear.
It's like that. It's not clear. The rabbi has to come closer to the camera. We hardly see him.
But can you hear him?
It's not clear. We hear a voice, but
you can't hear what he's saying, but you hear what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you have to speak louder.
We hear the Rav, but
this evening,
we can mute everyone. Maybe you should mute everyone except the Rav.
We did mute everyone. Someone unmuted so we could hear, but so everybody else, can everyone mute now?
I think, guys, you have to change the batteries.
Well, yeah, I did. I plugged it in because it was almost out of batteries. Can you hear? Can everyone hear clearly? You can hear me clearly? All right.
Yes,
so you just have to speak louder.
This evening,
ask if they can hear you.
We are honoring a very special guest.
Can everyone hear now?
Yes.
Okay, so just speak loudly and clearly.
This evening, we are honoring very special guests, Walter and Sim Friedman. Very beloved and highly respected in the community. We are also honoring another Friedman generation who are no longer with us. We are honoring the memory of Lazer Nachman and his wife, Rachel Friedman, the beloved parents. His holy memory. Lazer Nachman left us this holy neshama. He left us on the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur. One of Lezer Nachman's last public visits was the shul. He left us at the age of 99. And our Savior, the Chazal, tell us that Ike Sabe Bevovel, in the Shema that we read twice a day, it says, in order that your days be lengthened on our land. So it seems to indicate that only in our own land, that's where the days are lengthened. Ich is Saba Bevovel. Do we outside of Eretz Yisrael, do we find elderly with lengthened days and years? And the Gemara answers yes, because B'schus Mashkim Marivim, because they arise early to go to the Beis Medrash, the house of study, and to daven morning and night, so that lengthens their days and their years. And this was Lezer Nachman. He would rise early in the morning in the cold winter days and go out in the cold, freezing streets to be seen at the Beis Medrash. And that's why we were fortunate to have him with us until 99. Rabbi Fishbain, let me take you somewhere. And the scene was Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in the 40s. A young mother was heard crying frantically, "Give me a knife! Give me a knife!" A Nazi SS guard delightfully handed her the knife and was anticipating a suicide. The Blazherov ran over to her and telling her, "Have faith, have bitachon, all of this will end. There's a better day on the horizon before us." And the Nazi SS officer ran over and knocked him to the ground, rushed over, and he said, "Tell me, what were you plotting with her?" And he replied, "I was not plotting. I was only telling her, have faith that a better day is in store." Then she took the knife and she took her newborn infant and raised her head upward to the sky and said, "Almighty Father in heaven, Rabbi Shalom, you gave me a pure Jewish child. I'm returning him to you as pure and as innocent as you gave him to me." And she proceeded to make the bracha and make a bris on a newborn infant. In our community, a father came to me with the following problem. His daughter is expecting, and he knows it's going to be a boy, and he also knows that the day that the bris is going to be is in conflict with an affair, a mishpacha affair, in conflict with a farewell party for his daughter's father-in-law. And he continued with a farewell party. You most definitely cannot postpone, but a bris, in complete innocence, but a bris, he said, you can't postpone. In addition, the moil does not accept medical coverage, and the obstetrician does, and he will perform the bris when the baby is 2 days old, before the baby goes and the mother are discharged from the hospital. I assured him that there's no conflict whatsoever. The bris is usually in the morning, right after davening. And the farewell party is usually late in the day, or in the afternoon or evening. Secondly, I have a moil who will take medical coverage. We immediately contacted a moil in Monsey, Hanani Cohen. We also offered to pay his fee. Besides, the day of the bris, he came the day before to see the child, and the day of the bris, and then a day or two after the bris to make sure the child made 3 trips. The morning of the bris, my Rebbetzin and my daughters, they prepared a beautiful breakfast. And of course, the family and the guests and their friends were our guests. And of course, the moil refused to accept any payment whatsoever. When we arrived in White Lake, Roni Akoro lo yolodo. Be joyous, barren, you barren women, you did not give birth. If they're barren, how could they give birth? And the Gemara says, they did not give birth to Gehenna. When we arrived in White Lake, that's exactly the situation. They were giving birth to Gehenna. The atmosphere was such. It was choshech, it was a midbar, b'soich midbar. And we said to ourselves that Yodenu lo yishovchu es hadam hazeh. We cannot look away. We must put our shoulder to the task. And we went to work. The Gemara says, Omar Rava, if you write a Sefer Torah, tzorach lichtayv, you have to have a Sefer Torah in front of you. Fortunate is those that have the Sefer Torah in front of them, a Sefer Torah to copy when they go out to write their own Sefer HaChaim. But those that do not have, we are the Sefer Torah. We are the Sefer Torah that they copy from to be able to go out and write their own Sefer HaChaim. a number of years ago on Sukkot Torah, in the midst of HaKovis, the dancing stopped, and I permit me to say a few words to recharge the whole atmosphere. A young man by the name Peter Spiegel came forward and asked permission to say a few words. Rabbi, he said, yesterday on Shmini Atzeres, you gave me the honor of binding the Torah together. When I went home, I did not go to sleep until I bound the Torah to my heart. Rabbi, please teach me Torah. With your permission, Rabbi Sai, I would like to take a moment for a personal note. My daughters and I have been asked a critical question. For 47 years, struggling, self-sacrifice, the emotional and mental bruises, the thorns, the brush you encountered in your struggle to fill the community with the light of Torah. When we opened our doors and we had signs notifying that there'll be Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, there'll be a minyan, we were served with a summons that they must be removed. Otherwise, we're under a $50 fine. And the headline in the local newspaper read, Orthodox rabbi is charged for services. After all of this, would you and your Rebbetzin do it again? Would we do the same struggle for 47 years? The answer clearly, unmistakably, is yes. Why? In everyone's life, there are certain moments, unforgettable moments, that you treasure for your entire lives. When, because of our struggle and sacrifice, somebody takes into their home the light and the blessing of Shabbos. Because of our self-sacrifice and struggle, when somebody observes the beautiful mitzvah of Tzar HaMishpacha, when someone puts on tefillin for the first time, whether it's 13 or 30 or 40 and 50 or 60 years old, because of our struggle and self-sacrifice. When someone has obviously saw because of the atmosphere here, because of what he saw in our Beis Medrash, because of our sacrifice and self-struggle, those are one of those unforgettable moments. Like I mentioned many times before, one of the biggest and most brilliant minds and hearts, the Kamenetzer Rosh Yeshiva, said his Adam Haba is secured not because of his incredible Torah lectures, his chidushim, not because of his piety, but because he loves his fellow Jew. And that's what we try to spread here, a love for a fellow Jew. We were written up in a worldwide circulated magazine, Mishpacha magazine. And there was a picture on the front cover of our Beis Medrash, and a picture of myself. And the caption was, "He went to the country and he never came back." The closing lines of that article, he writes the following: "If you're in the White Lake area and the skies are growing dark, head for the Beis Medrash for a short between Mincha and Ma'ariv drosha. You may laugh, you may cry, you may be inspired, you may learn something new. But one thing is certain, you will not regret it." Some 22 years ago, Labor Day, a bar mitzvah for a Russian young boy was taking place. A Hamish Yid from a nearby colony that did not have a minyan was present. At the bar mitzvah, I took the opportunity to say a few words. And I told the following story about a chaplain who checked in to a hotel in Berlin and met a 15-year-old survivor, mind you, 15 years old, pitifully malnourished. His eyes were hanging out the sockets. The skin was hanging from his body. And the chaplain quickly opened up his suitcase with rations, offering the lad to partake. And the young boy turned down the offer, telling the chaplain, he said, "I'm not interested in that." But he said, "I do have one request. I'm 15, 2 years after my bar mitzvah, and I did not have the opportunity to put on tefillin yet. Do you have a pair of tefillin that I can put on?" When I concluded, the Hamish Yid walked over to me with a request, with the following request: "I would like to say something about a bar mitzvah you don't know." A magnificent English. he began, "My dear bar mitzvah boy, if I could have a bar mitzvah like you, I would be the happiest man in the world." Why? Because I was bar mitzvah in Auschwitz. I came from the city of 10,000 Jews, and they're all wiped out. I had a family of 250, and I was the only one left. And the only thing that I had from my family, only thing that I took from me was my Zaidi, my grandfather's tefillin. I kept them with me, and I escaped from Auschwitz and joined the Russian army. They were then pursuing the Nazis, and wherever we passed a body of water, we would take the opportunity to bathe. As we continued pursuing the Nazis, I noticed that the tefillin were missing, and I assumed I dropped them at the last stop. I turned to the Russian commander, asking him permission to go back and retrieve the tefillin. The commander refused permission. He shouted, "If you attempt to go back, I will shoot you." I cried back at him, "I do not care. What I lost is dearer than life itself. Shoot me." And my tears softened him. And he not only gave me permission to go back, but he sent me back with another soldier to help me retrieve the tefillin. And indeed, we did find the tefillin. The war ended, and I found myself in Paris. There I met a young lady, and we were married. A number of years passed, and to our concern, we were not blessed with a family, a mishpacha. My wife, after seeing a specialist, came away with the shattering, heartbreaking news. The specialist told her the Nazi doctors made it medically impossible for her to have children. He had already examined several hundred girls who the Nazi doctors experimented like your wife. It is unfortunately impossible for your wife to have children. After leaving the doctor's office, we felt as if the sky caved in on our heads. Our dreams, our hopes, our visions of building and rebuilding everything the Nazis destroyed were crushed and shattered. We then moved to New York. After a number of years, we found a specialist. Today, my friends, we have, thank God, 30 grandchildren. Now back to the Russian bar mitzvah boy. Today, he is a complete shomer Torah, and his children are learning in the yeshiva. And mind you, at his bar mitzvah, he struggled with a simple aliyah, a bracha about a bar mitzvah. And now with a light note. A gentleman came to our Beis Medrash just to say Kaddish for his mother. As Kaddish was the only knowledge he had about Judaism. During the Kaddish interval, he became an observant Jew. A while later, his father passed away. For his father, Kaddish, he recited altogether over a month or so. And that was it. He was gone. One day I met him on the street and told him how we enjoyed having him. And whatever he did for his mother, his father deserved the same honor. Rabbi said, I understood that in the merit of the Kaddish for my mother and my becoming an observant Jew, this assured that my mother will end up in Gan Eden in heaven. To tell you the truth, my parents did not get along. And if I did the same for my father, he would end up in Gan Eden, in heaven. And they will continue fighting. So better let him stay where he is, let her stay where she is. My friends, the horrors the atrocities of the Nazis that took place. There's nothing that can be done about that. Only to vent our rage. But there is one thing we can do, is to keep close to our hearts and support and strengthen that what they lived and died for, Torah and mitzvahs. And if we don't, we will be guiltier than the assassins, because they killed them only in the flesh, and we will have killed them in the spirit. We turn to you to please help us to continue our holy work. Call in, send in your help. our needs are many and great. Amongst the many things we need is another Sefer Torah. It took us over 40 years till we got we owned our own one Sefer Torah, our own. 40 years, and mind you, every Sunday, the 8 weeks, 10 weeks of the summer, the bungalow colonies, for 8 weeks, they're making Achmaz Sefer Torah. And it took us 40 years. Whoever would want to take upon himself this great mitzvah, in honoring his parents or loved ones, to donate a Sefer Torah, we would write a Sefer Torah in their memory. Please come forward. Please help us in that schus. We'll be zeicher b'seicher zeno einenu b'shuchol etzion b'rachamim. Amen.
You could, the guest of honor, maybe you can say a few words. You should unmute yourself. Okay, let's see what we could do. Can we?
Do you want to say something?
Let's let him.
He wants to say something?
Yeah,
There we go.
We can discuss it with the
Hi, everybody here that knows me, most of the people. My name is Walter Friedman, and I'm joined by my wife, Simma Friedman, my daughter, Erica Friedman, Stefan Pop. Nice to see you. Okay.
What's he saying?
Okay, we are being honored, and we thank you very much. My parents.
We gotta mute. How do we mute ourselves?
See it face to face.
No, they don't want malkah. I muted myself for a second. I didn't do anything.
Turn him off. Turn him off. Turn him off. That's
I'm
all.
trying to figure out how to.
Me and my wife. Thank you again.
That's all. Just say thank you. That's not. All right. That's it for tonight. A good tavach. Right?
Get the walk.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for attending.
Okay.
All the way from Yerushalayim.
Walter
Who-
Sima,
Who's that in Yerushalayim?
congratulations, Mazel Tov, everybody who participated tonight. I'm calling on you that this family